I'd rather be obsessed with staying healthy in my body than be obsessed with the fact that I'm not. So like on both sides, I'm wired to care. So I'd rather care and be healthier.
Hey, everybody, I'm Lori Schulweiss.
And I'm Jen Giammo.
And welcome to another episode of Everybody Talks, the podcast where we explore the wide world of wellness. Sometimes we talk to experts, sometimes we just talk to each other, always talking to you.
Every week, we discuss topics from nutrition and exercise to mindfulness and self-care. And today, we are talking about a whole lot of things. It's a hodgepodge.
It's a hodgepodge conversation. You don't want to miss it. Let's get started. Our guest today is a lawyer by trade, but pivoted to media and broadcasting, where she's clearly thriving. In addition to her podcast, Just Jenny, she also co-hosted Whatever with Alexis and Jennifer, alongside Martha Stewart's daughter, Alexis Stewart. She also co-authored Whateverland, Learning to Live Here with Alexis, which offers humorous takes on life and navigating modern challenges.
She's very active on social media. If you don't follow her, you should.
Definitely.
She discusses a wide range of topics from food to family dynamics to parenting, personal health and wellness. We're going to talk about it all here today. She also shares a lot of fun recipes that you and I have both tried.
We definitely have tried them.
Her honest, funny, and down-to-earth nature continues to engage her audience and garner attention for her relatability and inspiration. Please welcome our friend, Jenny Hutt.
Hi.
Welcome,
Thank
Jenny.
you for having me. I just want that. So I know you said I had a podcast, which I do now, but before that it went Whatever with Alexis and Jennifer. And then my Just Jenny show was on Sirius XM for like 17 years. And then when I left that was when I started podcasting. And then in the middle of that is when I launched Bunny Eyez. And then the lawyer stuff, yes, I'm a lawyer, but I barely practiced. Like now maybe I'll get into it a little bit more as an old lady, but I pretty much have been, mostly just the whole broadcast thing.
Do you want us to do the intro again?
No, not at all. That's perfect.
No, because I didn't. I had stuff in there about Sirius XM. Then I was like, oh, maybe I'll just jump right to like what you're doing now. But thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah.
All right. Tell us more about you.
Tell us. How did you were a lawyer and then you?
Yeah, I went to law school just because my dad wanted me to. It was just I didn't know what I wanted. And so I went to law school because he was like, just go. And then after you could figure out what you want to do. And then I didn't even figure out what I really wanted to do till I was 35 years old. And I fell into broadcast. I was assisting my father at his office. And that's how I met Martha's daughter. And then she asked me to do a radio show with her. And then that's how we started that Whatever with Alexis and Jennifer, which was right before Howard Stern launched on Sirius XM. So it was really like the Wild West. And it was so much fun. Yeah. And so we launched 3 months before Howard, and then Howard launched. And then and even before Howard launched, we had listeners because there was no one else listening other than people that were coming over because of Howard. So they got this like weird programming that they didn't anticipate from Alexis and me. And it was so much fun. So we did that for 5.5 years, 6 years. We had a couple TV shows in there. And then she left. And then I couldn't do a show on her mother's channel called Whatever with Alexis and Jennifer with just me, because that's weird. So they fired me. And then within like 3 weeks, Sirius XM hired me. And then I stayed there until 2022, the end of 2022.
Wow.
And what made you leave Sirius to do your own podcast?
They didn't renew my contract because they took down my whole channel. So I was on a channel called the Stars Channel. Oh. And they took the whole channel down, and like only a couple people on that channel survived, and I wasn't one of them.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I launched the
surviving
podcast
now.
within like 3 days.
Yeah. You're surviving now.
Yeah.
Fine.
I'm fine. You know what?
Yeah.
It was bittersweet and it was rough for sure. And I'm still kind of getting my bearings of like, what's my identity without doing live broadcasts? Because I loved doing live broadcasts. But I had the greatest 17 and a half years there. I mean, it was so much fun. I learned the trade of broadcast and made a lot of friends and met so many people, and it changed my life. So I can only look back sort of on how great it was, and endings happen, change happens. And so what? You rise up and you meet the change and you deal with it.
And that's a good run. Like that's an amazing run.
That's an amazing run. I mean, definitely is.
So we listen to your podcast and love your podcast. So I'm glad that you transitioned from one platform to another so people could still hear you and all the things that you share. But how has hosting the podcast kind of shaped your perspective on the audience that listens to you?
Well, how's it shaped the perspective on the audience? I was actually going to say that I look at Lori and I look at Lori's job in producing. And the hardest part about my podcast is it's all me. So, like, I have to do the job of 6 people to put up an episode. But in terms of the perspective of the listener, it's still the same. I mean, most of them have come over, I think, from the radio show and from social media. So it's pretty much the same thing. It's just not as real without it being in real time. It's a little bit different. And I think sometimes there's a struggle for the listener to like be okay with that. Even still 2 years into it, I think they still want like the immediate gratification of the moment to moment conversation, which I wish I could give them. It's very complicated to put out a live podcast.
I think it is.
Yeah.
I think it's not, podcasting isn't really set up for that. Like, it's
Yeah.
like,
I mean, you could do Instagram live and TikTok live or whatever, and even YouTube live, but it's not really set up for that. And then what do? You're talking, then your chat bot, like
Right.
it doesn't,
It's hard
I'm not
to
gonna,
interact
who am I
that
talking to?
way.
It's like, I'm
Right.
not going to be
Right.
chatting silently. And then to get callers, then you have to get a program that supports having people call in, and it's expensive. And I don't think anyone in this day and age really goes into podcasting thinking you're going to make a lot of money. It's you go into it to connect and for a myriad of reasons, but not for the money at this point, because we all know podcasting isn't like a lucrative field anymore.
Oh, we know.
We all know.
We're aware.
So
We're aware.
so in all candor, like I don't have the budget to put in a phone
Yeah,
line
sure.
for live callers on a live
Yeah.
podcast.
But Jenny, you also like doing it all yourself. You still turn around your episodes really quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I'm type A, and so I kind of have to do that. I also like having things as close to real time as possible. It's what I know and it's where I'm most comfortable because everything is always changing. I mean, it's like you watch television on a Tuesday and you go on the air on a Wednesday, and then by Wednesday night, something changed from the thing you saw the night before. And then I'm like, I'm late, or I left something out.
I missed the
Totally
boat.
Yeah. We feel that way too.
Yeah. And
on the
initially, when I
show,
first started, the first like 6 months, I was doing like 7 episodes a week. I was killing myself trying to
Oh my
make
God.
it like the radio show. And I was killing myself. So I had to stop.
Yeah.
Something had to
Yeah. No, that's too much. That's
Yeah,
too
it was
much.
crazy.
Wow.
I
So
let that go.
you talk about everything. Your topics kind of range from humor to serious conversations. How do you balance that, or do you decide like what am I going to talk about that's serious versus funny, and kind of what does that balance look like?
So just real life, just like I can go from talking about candy corns to my daughter's heart attack, which I'm sure we'll get into. I usually base what I'm talking about on whatever. Well, it depends on the guest. Obviously, if there's a guest, I'm going to talk about what matters to the guest and sort of where the two of us meet, like why that person's on the episode. But on Saturdays with Stacy, with my sister, every Saturday, we talk about the most ridiculous stuff, and then we might start crying over something that matters also. But I pretty much like to just I try to honor my kids' privacy and protect their privacy with like have boundaries ish. And so my rule of thumb is I don't ever talk about my children without having their permission. So if it's a conversation that involves them in any way, I have to be limited depending on what's okay for them. And so that's really my barometer. I try to really pay attention to how it's going to impact my family. But other than that, if it's about me, I just as myself, I'm an open book.
You're an open book.
Yeah. I mean,
Yes.
that's very clear from every Instagram story you post.
Yeah, because we're all the same. Like,
Everyone's the same.
what's the reason of front at this point? Like, I'm 54 years old. Why I don't understand the whole sort of, I don't know, pretending something is other than what it is.
What it is.
Yeah.
I just,
yeah.
and I'm too tired to do that. Like, it takes way too much effort.
Yeah. I love that though. I think that's my favorite part
I know.
about it is the transparency. So talking about interviews with guests, and you've had a lot of different guests on, what would be like one of the most surprising things that you've ever learned about a guest that you've interviewed?
I think I'm trying to think what would be surprising about a guest. Oh my gosh. I mean, I've had kind of moments. And I'm sure you guys have experienced this sort of thing where I'll have to like look at a list of the people that I've talked to over so many years because my memory isn't what it once was. So I have to like jolt my memory or jog my memory back into like something. But like there are people that I talked to, like John Lithgow, when I spoke to him, and I was really amazed at how interesting he was beyond just the fact that he was an actor. And that was surprising because I just expected sort of a thespian and not like a depth that he had, which he did. Um, Rosie O'Donnell and I became friends through, I don't even know how or when, through one of the times that we had either done something on the air somewhere. And she was really cool. And I loved that getting to know her was really fun. And it still is because she's just who she is. She's just who she purported to being and who she is. And like, I like when a person sort of matches who you think they're going to be before you meet them. And she did, and she does. I got to interview Celine Dion back in 2014 or 2015. And this was for TV. That was for like Entertainment Tonight or one of those shows. Maybe it was Inside Edition. Do you remember the
Oh,
Insider?
yeah, sure.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And I loved her. I took my sister to that, and she was so gracious. And she was exactly, again, like who you think she is, was exactly who she is. I grew up around Dolly Parton, and I got to interview her in 2019. And that was just amazing because I hadn't seen her in 20 or 30 years, like since I was, maybe longer, since I was a kid. Probably the last time I had seen her, I was 13, 14, 15. No, maybe I did. I saw her once as a grown up, but not like, it was like a meet and greet. And I was with my dad. So like she knew that I was me, but I hadn't sat down with her. And interviewing her was really, she's Dolly again. She's exactly who you think she's going to be. But more interesting, and I don't give names, but like I've had some interviews where I just questioned why I was there, and B, like questioned why the guest was there. Like you get someone in the room and you think they're there willingly and want to be there, and then it turns out they don't. And that's a very strange thing as a host or a broadcaster or a radio personality on a talk show, when your very job is to interview that person and they're clearly not there to play. And that I've had a couple of times where I've just been like, why, what? And then, there's always the very insufferable dumb male actor, but we don't have to mention names.
But it's
like watching
nice,
paint dry.
Like it's nice when you are pleasantly surprised by someone. Like if you have this expectation, then you talk to them, you're like, oh, they really are like that. But I think it sucks when you have an expectation and then they're like, oh. Yeah.
And then they're awful. That was the whole, look, I don't know if you guys saw the Ellen, she did a Netflix special and it just dropped and it's great. And I remember when I went to the Ellen show a few times, and I happen to love Andy Lassner. He's adorable and so warm. And Mary, I think is her name, who was always so nice. I interned at Letterman when I was a kid. So I knew Mary from then. And Andy I met at Ellen. And I just remember like watching the show, and in between the takes, she would go dark. And like the show would go dark and she would go dark. And it was so strange to watch. It was like two different people, like what you're talking about. Whereas Lori, if you could talk about your show and you go to Kelly, and Kelly with whomever she's been with, by the way, and I know her and I know Mark, Kelly was always Kelly. Like anytime I'd been to your show, I'm like, she is the hardest working woman in show business, because like what you see is what she just works that hard. Like she's on from the minute the show starts to the minute the show ends. And really, it's not my business who she is off the show because she's not working anymore, but it's so clear that she's consistent. And
she's consistent off.
Right? She's adorable.
I have to say, like
girl.
in my career at this show, which is really my whole career, everyone is who they are.
Correct.
From Kathy to Regis to Kelly to Ryan to Mark.
Right.
It's like really everybody.
Regis was the nicest guy. Yes. To your point, Jen, there's something about when somebody is kind of what you would anticipate and hope they were going to be, that it's like great. And because when they're not, you're just like, oh, that's just a little bit lame. And not to say, like, everybody has a bad day. I remember I met Barbara Walters in the elevator at SiriusXM, and it was the day that I think Rosie had the thing on air. Like some bad shit happened that day. I didn't know until later, but I was so upset in the elevator that like Barbara Walters was in a bad mood because like she's
Right.
Barbara Walters. And of course she's entitled to be in a bad mood. I mean, hello.
Right.
Yeah.
But like at the time I was so upset.
Yep.
And then I met her another time and she was lovely. But I guess I try to give people grace when they don't match what I expect. But like sometimes it can be really disappointing.
Yeah.
It's so funny. I mean, it's funny you saying like in the commercial break should go dark, because that was something, you know, when Regis was Joey Bishop's, and you may know this already, but when Regis was Joey Bishop's sidekick, and he was like, Joey would send him out into the audience to talk in the commercial breaks because he knew in those 2 minutes you were going to lose them. So you had to keep them engaged. And that carried over. He did it, and they all did it. And we still do it today, like in the commercial breaks. Kelly and Marco, everyone's always so surprised because they're like, oh, we've been to another show, I won't say. And everyone, they like don't come to the audience, they don't speak to the audience. And we're so all about that and
It
engaging
is so
with
professional and so well run. Kelly's the hardest working woman in TV. I've said it for years. Like it's actually
them.
amazing.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
too
she's
bad
very
she's
old
so
school.
fat though. Because it's I'm a little bit like uncomfortable when I look at her.
Yeah, I've been trying to get her, to work out with me and get on a plan.
I know you have to. Somebody has to. Somebody needs to help that girl.
Yeah, she really.
Poor thing. Poor
Yes,
thing.
exactly.
And I do want to agree with you that I would say, my most hated question that people ask, which is just people asking, it's like, who's your favorite guest? Who's the this? Who's the that? What, I couldn't tell you who was on our show this morning.
Of course you can't. How could you?
And so, but that most people surprise you for good. There are
I would
very
agree with
few.
that. I would
There are
agree with
very
that.
few celebrities that roll through that you're like, whoa, that's not what I
think especially
expected.
now, because with social media and everyone seeming much more accessible, you do get a little bit of a window into who they are, at least what they put out there. And usually you can tell, even with sort of, it's like I think I was explaining to you, Jen, the other day, because I work out. Jen Giamma is the best trainer.
I've heard. I
mean, I don't want to be in person with her. Don't get me
She
wrong.
doesn't want to be anywhere
Doesn't
near
want to
me.
be near you. I barely want to be near her, and I have to sit this close to her.
I know, but she's the
it's
best.
very rough.
But she's really, really, really great. But I was saying the other day, like sometimes I get random DMs from people, and I can tell from like one line whether somebody's creepy or somebody's okay. And it's the same way. You could sort of sense it with the celebrity because most, like, they're just people. They're just people who
just
have
people. That's exactly
a job
right.
that you happen to know about.
Right.
Yeah,
That's exactly right. Exactly right.
Speaking of social media, I just want to switch gears a little bit. So you are super open and transparent on Instagram. Do you ever feel like, and some of the stuff you talk about is controversial sometimes, right? I mean, like, are you ever worried about being judged, or like, what is your take on sort of?
I mean, I'm always going to be judged. So I'm trying to care less. I just, sometimes I just get so sick of myself anyway, and like sick of complaining. But then I go down a list of like traumas I've been through, and I'm like, well, the list is pretty fucking long. So if I have to complain, it's okay for right now. And then I also think it kind of brings other people comfort. I think we're all tired of the glossy, like everything is. And by the way, I like a filter. I enjoy a filter. But years ago, I enjoyed a filter more. And years ago, I was like, give me that face app. Like I wanted all of that. And the older I've gotten, the more I just feel like the more honest we are, each one of us, the easier getting through life is going to be, because it's hard. And when we see somebody else pretending that everything's simple and that they're just having a good time and they love going out every night and they're constant, and I'm just like, who the fuck are you? Like, because it's just not my reality. So if it's not mine, it's probably not someone else's too. So I don't really ever regret what I've said either, because I do have this philosophy. Like whenever we hear about people getting canceled, I'm like, well, that's just because like their indoor voice got like outside, like the thing, like accidentally.
1,000% true. 1,000%.
I'm not afraid of my
Yeah.
inside voice, because there's nothing that I say that should be it's just not the way my mind works. So I don't really worry. Like if I tell you that I think that a woman should have the right to choose whether or not she's going to have an abortion, like I think a woman should have the right to choose whether or not she's going to have abortion. And that could mean she chooses to not have an abortion. Like I just think you get to pick and choose what you want to do. Like there's very few things that I'm going to be, I don't know, like really fringe about, I guess, because I'm just not all that fringe. I care about people. I care about equalities. I mean, I'm never going to not stand up for somebody who needs standing up for, because I think we need to do that. So no, I don't really.
I think that's the big difference too. Like you said, it's like these people who are filtered and glossy and going out every night and their lives look amazing. And it's like, I'm sorry, that's not real either. It's like, it's so, but I feel like there are people that buy into that and believe it and they follow it. And it's like, like that to me is so gross. And it's like to have a voice and be authentic and who you are and not give a shit what people think is like.
Yeah, it'll all take. Yeah, the other day I was on QVC with Bunny Eyez, and that was great.
Oh my God, I
and
was just
people are
looking
like,
that
talk
up.
about that.
People are like, oh, you look so gorgeous. You look so gorgeous. And I'm like, well, yeah, I had hair and makeup at 12 o'clock at home. So I had someone do my hair. Then I had someone do my makeup. Then I had to get in a car to be driven 3 hours to Pennsylvania, where somebody else touched up my hair and my makeup, obviously, because I had to then be on camera. And then I'm walking to the, and you do I still need a facelift. I still am a mess. You do the best you can do. You put yourself together the best you can, which I did, which took effort, obviously. Like it's all by design. I'm not here to pretend I rolled out of bed and put myself on television, because no, it's the most anxiety producing, awful thing. And then after, I mean, and I said it to you last week, Jen, I said, there's no way on Tuesday I'm going to want to see you, look at you, lift a weight or do anything, because I'm going to be a mess. And case in point, I got home at 1 o'clock in the morning and I was hungover the next day, and I don't drink alcohol, but just the whole event of 6 hours in the car and the hair and the whole thing and showing up and adrenaline and the whole bit, I was like, I need to recuperate. And I think that's the part that people leave out. Like you see the glamorous aspect, what someone looks at as like glamorous, but what I see is I get back and I'm washing like 17 layers of makeup off my face at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I
actually.
was going to say though, I paid attention to all of your stories. I was at rapt attention watching you go through your day to QVC. And I want to say it's like, that's nothing that I do, but I was paying attention. I was like, you made it so relatable, and that it didn't matter that you were about to be on television on QVC of all things, but it was just like watching you through this kind of like adventure, misadventure of going
it was
through this
really
thing.
fun because I ran into people.
And you
that was
got
the
the
other
fun.
thing. Yeah, it was fun. That was fun because it was like, and it was actually really fun because then the next day when I had posted like all the people on the wall, because a lot of, and I think Joy Bauer's probably been on live. Has she been on live?
Yeah, she's actually a very good friend of mine.
Mine too. I love Joy.
Yes,
Joy and I
love
go
her
back
too.
25 years. I mean,
I go back
a crazy
a little ways
long
with
time.
her
Love
too.
her. But when I walked into QVC and I looked at the wall, there was Joy, and I'm like, oh my God, hi Joy. And there's this one and this one. It's like all these people that I know that I
saw you say hello to everyone.
Yeah.
You said hello to their pictures.
Wait, then I get a text late at night or the next morning from Stacey London, like, you didn't see my picture. You didn't see me on the wall. I went, oh, Stacey.
Oh,
Stacey.
no.
Shit. Oh, Stacey. I missed you. She was like, mine's behind a lamp. I'm like, oh, this is awful. Because I love Stacey. Like, she's one of my favorite people. So it was really funny. But and the internet thing, like Kim Gravel and I are friends from Instagram, and she happened to be there on the same show. So that was fun because I met her in person, and like down the hall, we see each other, we run, we hug, and we kiss as if we've known each other for 20 years. So it was just really, really nice to like run into people I hadn't seen in a while. And it was,
that's
it was
fun. That's fun.
So
and it
fun.
makes you like a little bit more comfortable,
Yeah.
I feel like too.
Yeah,
Like it just kind of settles your nerves.
Really, they've really at QVC, like they're much calmer than they used to be. I was there 5 years ago and it was very different from this experience. They're much more chill than they once were. So it was fun.
That's cool.
Wow.
So wait, Jenny, tell us about, I don't have this as a question, but I'm thinking of it now. I want to know, how did Bunny Eyez come about?
Oh, well, that is easy. I couldn't see when I turned 44. My whole world got blurry. And so I needed reading glasses everywhere I was. So I had a million pairs. And every time I would get my hair colored, I was just annoyed because I couldn't read at the same time. I couldn't wear my glasses and have my hair colored. I felt like the hair color was getting onto the glasses. So I didn't understand why there weren't glasses that you could hold in your hand. Like that was the initial thing. And that was probably in April of 2017. And then like in July, this sat with me for a while. I think I told one of my kids and the other one didn't care. It's true. And one cared, one didn't. And then in July, I was sitting next to my sister Stacy at the beauty parlor and she looked annoyed. And I was like, why do you look so annoyed? She said, because I can't read. It was so crazy because like it really happened like this. And I was like, you're kidding me. And she was like, no, I'm so irritated that I can't wear my glasses. So I said to her, I have this idea that like we should be able to hold them in our hands. And she was like, I'm sure they're made already. I was like, I don't know. We start Googling. We looked at every website. I did like the Laura Grenier Hero or Zero app in the beauty parlor. It came up a hero. I mean, it was nuts. And I'm like, well, who can make these? And so Stacy knew someone in eyewear from one of her kids' class, like a mom of one of her kids' friends. And I reached out to this person. I had gone home. I went home and I made a prototype of just a frame and I put chopsticks. I glued chopsticks on them. So they look like what bunny eyes look like when you flip the temple down. And I met our partner Andrea at a diner and we talked over what my idea was. And she was like, we need to make it better. You need to also be able to wear them. And I was like, oh, okay, good idea. And then she went to China for the rest of her business like a week later. And we had a prototype within 3 weeks, which was crazy.
Wow.
And we launched like 10 months later. And it was pretty wild. Kelly's worn them on your show.
I know. I think
Yeah.
that she has. Yeah. She
That's
definitely
so
has.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I'm like now I'm looking forward to being like wanting to wear readers, needing
You
to
need
to wear
real
them.
glasses. So what do you?
No, I'm saying I don't need readers yet
She
because
needs
these are.
contacts and readers, but
I
she's,
know.
Jenny's been
no,
on me
the
about-
contacts. No.
I
Jenny,
told her my
trust me.
contact story.
She can't do it?
She
Okay.
can't do it.
All right,
She
you know
thinks-
better.
I'm so jealous of women over 50 who could drive well, like without.
Well, Jen can't drive at
I
night.
can't drive at night. I haven't driven at night in 4 years.
Yes.
Okay, well, you need new glasses. And
No.
that's
It's.
I don't
what
know.
is it?
I don't know. She like. Yeah.
Are you
I don't know.
scared? Is it
She's
perce-
scared.
depth-
Well,
is it
I
depth
mean-
You
perception?
are scared.
Well,
well,
I'm scared
it
because
started,
I can't see.
If there's like a fear component to this, then that is something you can
I know.
Well, add it to the list, Jenny.
like work
Add
on
to the
it
list.
if you want to.
Add it to the
you don't
list.
have to, but I'm big on like
I know.
facing the fear head
Yeah,
on.
I
someone
know.
is
Doing it
not
anyway.
big on that.
All right.
Someone's not big on that.
Well,
Yeah, that's okay.
we are not
Meet her where
interviewing
she
me.
is.
We are not interviewing
and
me
I
right
do.
now.
And I do.
Well, okay, talk about that then. So talk about some of the things that that you incorporate to manage stress because you do talk
God.
about
I mean, I was going to say the things I'm afraid of.
and the things you're afraid
no,
of.
everything. I mean, getting up every day, leaving the house, what do you
Right.
mean? And engaging with other human beings. It's terrifying. I just do it anyway. I just got this book called The Courage to Be Disliked. It's by a Japanese philosopher, and I have to look it up. I can't remember the name now. And it kind of it dares you to be brave in the face of things that you don't want to deal with. And so, like, I'll read self-help books. I take a low dose of an antidepressant only recently. I white knuckled for many, 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 many years, but like perimenopause plus like mental health stuff, it's a lose-lose. I think any help you can have with someone actual, like a medical provider, like a licensed practitioner helping you, it's important. I wouldn't just start taking things for, like, I'm not going to go get St. John's wort and tell you guys to just go to the health food store to feel better. I have therapists. I have good people in my life, and I do a lot of self-talk, and I do a lot of talking through things that I don't want to do and doing them anyway. I mean, that's just what I do. Like, that's how I look at exercise too. On days I don't want to do it, I do it anyway. And I'll complain I'll talk to myself the whole time, but I'll still get it done, even though I'm like not happy to be there.
Right.
Yeah.
Even with me, she's not happy to be
I
there.
know.
I mean,
Imagine that.
So
happy.
fucking annoyed, but
I
like
know.
I still have to lift the weights.
Yeah.
You do.
Like, it just doesn't matter. I mean, and that's the thing. Like, I'm going to be miserable. So I might as well be miserable, like doing the thing that's better for me.
That's better
Yes.
for
than
you.
be miserable not doing the thing that's better for me. Because I'm not going to be happy in either situation.
But let me ask you this then. So if you so like and I understand that. I understand pushing through that dislike and that discomfort. But what if you're someone like me that the discomfort is a full on panic? Like that is a panic attack. Like I don't
I've
ever
been
want to
there.
feel that.
Listen, panic attacks are incredibly debilitating.
Yes.
And I used to have them way more than I do now. And they are scary, and you break out into a sweat, and it feels like it's never going to stop, and your heart is beating like a hummingbird, and it's awful. But there's things you can do. There's cognitive behavioral therapy. There's exposure therapy. There's EMDR, which is like rapid eye movement therapy. There are ways to manage it. And there's medications. For a really long time, I was like, I'll never take a Xanax. Because I don't drink alcohol. I never liked it. I don't smoke pot because I've never liked it. I don't care what anyone else does. It's just none of it's worked for me. And I kind of added to that list for many, many years till I was in my late 30s. I'd never tried Xanax. I would never take anything that was like psychopharmacological. And then when my mother died when I was 38 years old, I hadn't slept in 10 days. And every doctor at the hospital was like, it's enough. Like, you and your sister need to do something, take something. There was like Ativan, Valium, Xanax, or whatever. And I think I was so afraid again. And that's part of the anxiety, the disease of anxiety, and like what it does to you and it messes with your brain. I believed in the suffering. I believed that that was like valiant, that if I gave in to this, if I didn't allow myself to suffer, then A, I was weak, or B, I'd be addicted to meds or whatever. And I took Xanax then. I take Xanax to fly. I have all sorts of weird rules about it. I can only take it one leg of a trip. I mean, I'm bizarre. I don't take it to sleep unless it's been like 3 weeks, and I'll take 0.25. I mean, I'm crazy, but I recognize that I'm crazy. And what I won't do anymore is allow a panic attack. Like, if I do feel like when my son was away this summer by himself in Europe studying, and he's a grown up and I'm irrational, if I was having a moment where I was panicking, I did allow myself to take a pill because A, I've never been addicted, and it's not all of my prescriptions expire. Every single one. Every year I renew it. I get 30 pills of 1 milligram that I can cut up every year. I get 30, exactly 30, and every year they expire. I mean, that's how ridiculous I am. But I no longer allow myself to go off the deep end because it's debilitating on our bodies. And like, it just doesn't feel good. And it doesn't, like, there's also this thing that we think we're so powerful. So we think that when we're scared about something happening, that thing is going to happen. But that's totally incorrect. We don't control what happens to other people. We barely control what happens to us. We only can control how we react. So when you also look at it that way, it's then you feel even worse because it's like, oh, I'm so narcissistic that here I thought that my being scared meant that something bad was going to happen to somebody else. What? My karma isn't their karma. Like, it's also stupid. So what's with the, why suffer through it? So now, and also then I don't drive people crazy all the time. I mean, I still do some of the time, but it's better for everyone else if I just take a pill and move on. So you need to do that. You need to find, if it's not working what you're doing, you got to find someone to help you so that because you shouldn't suffer like that.
I know. And the medication that I take, and I've been taking for a very long time, and I've switched, doses, and I've switched medications and things like that. But it's, I don't know. I seem to be defying it. I seem to be.
Well, then it's not the right, you're not in the right.
It's not the right, whatever it is.
You need
not
a
the right
different
thing.
psychopharmacologist or the one you have to like work through it better with you. I don't think you're having the right treatment if you're not feeling better, because panic attacks are something that can, with the right modalities, be helped.
No, I definitely, I went through phases where I had them, I didn't have them. I went to therapy, I did CBT. I would like to try EMDR because that seems very cool to me. But anyway, how does this keep turning back on me?
Now you see what we go through.
I mean,
You understand, like she mostly speaks. I add a couple things in. She asks the questions. I listen. That's kind of how we roll.
all right. We're getting off of me again. I know that I drive her crazy with my anxiety. So, Yeah,
I
I
just feel
think
I
bad that
mean,
you
I'm
suffer.
used to it. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
sucks.
I only feel bad about it because I want to help you so
Of
badly and there's
course.
nothing that I can do. So
No.
Well,
I feel very helpless. I mean, I
you
do a lot of things to help you get through
tell her what you
situations.
did last week for me.
Yes, this is what a good friend I
Oh, no,
am,
what
Jenny
happened?
Hutt. So we met previous guests of this podcast, and we were going to meet her and these other friends of hers, I guess, at her apartment building. And we had to meet in the lobby because then we're going to go up onto the rooftop of the building. Now, somewhere between meet in the lobby and on the rooftop, someone didn't realize that you have to get into an elevator to get there.
Mhm.
So we got up to the 37th floor. Somehow we did it. And then, but going down, didn't want to go on the elevator. And guess who walked down
Steps.
37 flights of steps?
Your good friend.
Yeah,
I'm a good friend.
she did that.
I
Yeah.
said, like, this is love. This is friendship.
Yeah.
This is what it means right now. This is it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did-
Elevator's a tough
I know.
one.
I didn't
Elevator's a
even
tough
I didn't
one.
even fight. I mean, no, because I've also been with her when she's had those panic attacks, and that it's
Terrible.
like painful to watch someone that you care about go through that. And
Yeah.
and like I said, no, there's nothing
that
you can do for
Yeah.
them. Like there's
If
I
you
know there's
speak to
nothing.
it, have you ever tried talking to it in the moment? Jen, have you ever tried, like, when you're having a panic attack, actually articulating what you're feeling out loud and
No.
all the things you're afraid of?
No.
It helps.
Okay. I've tried doing like the breathing techniques and doing that.
It doesn't help.
It
No,
doesn't.
actually,
That doesn't
one
help.
of the breathing things does help. If you breathe in for 7 and you breathe out for 7, you have to breathe in for 7 counts and breathe out for 7 counts. That will stop the adrenaline response and slow down your heart rate. So that's the physiological stuff that's good. But there's something about talking to your anxiety, which I do now. Like, I will actually say to myself, okay, you think that someone's not answering the phone because they've been hit by a car or they've been abducted or they choked or they slipped and fell. I mean, I go everywhere. And then I talk myself through it. I'll be like, yeah, but that's irrational because they told you that they were tired and going to take a nap.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're
It's
asleep.
totally.
Like,
They're
so
totally.
you
Yeah,
have to
totally.
really talk
Yeah.
yourself.
Right.
It doesn't mean you won't feel it,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it might help you get through it a little more quickly.
I'm going to try that. I'm
Okay.
going to try that.
A little quicker.
Speaking of worrying about other people and
Yeah.
family members and
New
being
fear
a,
unlocked. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Wow.
being a parent,
Yep.
you have had some challenges lately as a parent.
Yep.
Tell us.
I didn't need this.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is
So
crazy.
my daughter had a heart attack. She's 24 years old and otherwise healthy and is healthy even having had this happen. Very strange, completely random and very strange. The internet will tell you that she has had the jab, which is, of course, she's vaccinated. And that's why she had it's not why she had a heart attack.
Okay.
Other people have said, is she on cocaine? She's not on cocaine. Is she anorexic? She's not anorexic. I mean, there's nothing, anyway, she just had a heart. It's like I was in as much disbelief as everybody else. So is my daughter. So are all her doctors. What they believe she has is something called SCAD, which is spontaneous coronary arterial dissection. It is the most likely cause of heart attacks in younger women. Usually it happens to women in their 40s or 50s. Sometimes it happens to women at 24 or 18 or 20 or 19 or 25. There isn't really a known cause. There are some hypotheses of some people with SCAD that there's some connective tissue issues. She doesn't have those. But it's very unlikely for a 24-year-old to have a heart attack. So of all the unlikely causes of this very unlikely event, this is the most likely. And she has been, thank God for modern medicine, she has been looked up and down every blood test, every scan. She is under great care. I mean, I have unbelievable gratitude for her doctors. She's on medication as though she were 50. And she's rolling with it and a great kid. And eventually change the medicines as we figure out more, and she won't be on this stuff forever, and she'll go on and have a normal life, whatever that means to her, and live as long as everybody else. But yeah, between now and then, it's incredibly nerve wracking. And as a mother, I was already worried. So now I have more to worry about, but she's great and super communicative and really knows her body very, very well. We went to the hospital because she knew something was wrong, and she was sure something was wrong, and she was right.
Wow.
That had to
Yeah.
be the scariest thing.
Yeah.
I
It was
can't
really scary.
imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was pretty freaking bad. I mean, it was when she had terrible pain going down her left arm, like stabbing, like the worst pain she's ever felt. And my son was here, and the two of us were like, is this a panic attack? Because panic attacks and heart can mimic. And she is dramatic and emotional and anxious, and like anybody, just a 24-year-old girl. And so, but within 30 seconds, like we knew this was not a panic attack. And that's when we called 911. And then the EMT even didn't believe that something could really be wrong with her. And when he did the EKG, 'cause he's not a doctor, and he initially read it as normal. In hindsight, all the doctors looked back at the first EKG, and it was not, in fact, normal. But because she's so young, I guess there's like a range of what an EKG can look like. And so it didn't stand, like hindsight, everything stands out. Everyone can see what they couldn't initially see because they weren't really looking for what they couldn't initially see, because why would a 24-year-old have a heart attack? So when we got to the hospital and she was still in all this pain, no, and I don't, but the hospital was unbelievable. And the minute they knew that this was her heart, they sprung into action. And even not knowing it was her heart and just that she was in pain, like they gave her aspirin, because aspirin is heart protective in a heart attack. But they had given her like a muscle relaxer, an aspirin, and Toradol, which is an anti-inflammatory. Like that was it when they put an IV in her, just like to, as we were waiting for, she'd been triaged and nobody could see anything yet. And then they did an echocardiogram, and that showed nothing initially. And they took like all the bloods. And then when the first bloods came back was when everything changed, because her heart enzyme was elevated. And what I've learned is the heart enzyme is elevated when there's injury to the heart. Like that's pretty much the only time that heart enzyme, maybe there's another rare whatever, but it's pretty much if your troponins are elevated, something happened to your heart. So the minute they saw that, the whole dynamic changed in the hospital, because now you have a 24-year-old who had a heart attack. So they, by the next morning, it still took, I would say 48 hours to find the artery that blew, or to find like what happened where. But figuring out the exact why is still
a mystery.
hard. Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
really.
It
I
was
loved in one of
crazy.
your stories, you're like, where's House?
Yeah.
Where's House when you need it? Because I have felt that way with, when my father was ill, like, and there's I have things that are wrong with me that I'm dying to get to. I'm like, where is that doctor who will put all the pieces
We'll
together?
figure it out.
Yeah.
I think we all have to, obviously, you put your faith in your doctor and your medical whatever it is, whoever is your specific. I would hope that someone would choose someone who actually went to school for medicine of some sort. Like honestly, at this point, like I think DOs and MDs are pretty much the same now. I think years ago it wasn't, and years ago I used to be like, DO, I didn't go to medical school, you're not an MD. I don't think that anymore. There are incredibly brilliant DOs. It's the same. It's just a different one, works through kind of like the body. There's just a different way of how they learn, but they can be equally smart and talented. So I don't care what kind of doctor you go to, but you have to have like your faith in your medical provider that they know what they're doing. But at the same time, you also have to advocate and do your own research. And I don't mean go to Google and go to Reddit. And if you do go to Reddit, then whatever you read in Reddit has to link back to like the NIH.
A
Like
real
you got to
thing.
at least get to,
Oh yeah.
your sources have to be legit when it comes to medicine stuff, because there's just crazy things. And yeah, and you do that just to make sure no stone is left unturned. And so that's what I do. I mean, that's one of the things I've always been really good at, is medical research and finding doctors and finding information. And so I do that for her. So we will get to the bottom of it. She's with the very, very best doctors, and each one, and this is the other thing, and for you, Lori, if you feel like you haven't figured out what's going on, your doctor should be encouraging you to go to another doctor. Your doctor should encourage you to have as many people look at your case as needed. That's the sign of a good doctor. If a doctor's sort of proprietary and weird and telling you that they know best, leave that doctor like immediately, because you want a doctor who's open, because it's always changing. That's how they get research.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with
I
that. I
agree with
mean,
that
we've
too.
talked to so many doctors on this
Yeah.
podcast, and even they will say, like, be your own advocate.
You
Like,
have
you've
to.
got to do,
Yeah.
you know,
And
You
no
have
one's
to.
living in your skin but you. You're the only one who knows how you're feeling.
Yeah.
You're the only
Yeah.
one who can answer those questions, or complain or keep questioning or do all those things for yourself, because you're the only one that knows.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are so like dismissive of symptoms and things like,
I think
oh, I'm
that's
fine.
true.
I'll be okay. It doesn't,
Yeah. I'm definitely like that.
I'm like that too. But when it comes to
definitely like that.
other people, like research, I mean, talk about research.
Oh my God.
I am the queen of the deep
Yeah.
dive into
Yeah.
like NIH and PubMed. And I actually
Yeah.
showed up at my dad's oncologist appointment 2 weeks ago with a stack of like research studies. And I was like,
You
tell me
have
about
to.
this. Tell me about that. Why aren't we on this drug? Why aren't we
That's
doing
right.
this?
Yeah.
And she answered all my questions. And she actually, referred me to an integrative medicine specialist. And,
Good.
we talked about alternatives. But I mean, the point is, it's like, go and do your research.
You have to do
And-
it. Speaking of health, your health.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
And you had this tremendous weight loss that you've kept off and done it. I mean, I'm doing
Million
it,
years.
for a million years, but
Yeah.
still it's hard to like
Every
have
day.
maintained
Yeah.
it. I mean, it's a struggle. And I see your own struggle and all like the tips and tricks and things that you do again on Instagram. I mean, I appreciate all of those things. I think I tried the pickle sandwich because of you.
I was just here. There's a place near my house
I
that
know.
everybody is talking about. So that's why I made that. But
Yes.
I really believe that there's no one size fits all with like how to have the body that you want or the right body for you. I've never been anyone, like I've never been the person to be like, oh, everybody do what I'm doing and then you're going to feel great, because it just is not true. I can't eat like my sister. She can't eat like me. I can't, like, everybody has to find what works for their specific body. And so I just share what I do, because maybe like something in what I do might appeal to you, but in no way do I think it's going to cure anybody's anything. Like, I think there are dietitians and coaches and trainers and all sorts of people that are equipped to help with that sort of thing. And now obesity medicine doctors, I think, are incredible and needed. And so, yeah, but I do document all of it only because, again, it's that same thing. I see people online, I see these skinny, skinny girls like throwing back cheeseburgers and french fries and pizza all in the same day. And I'm just like, it's just not true. Like, it's just not true. So, I mean, I've been yelled at and told that I have an eating disorder, that I have this, I have that. And I'm like, A, I don't, but B, like, I mean, I just don't. And so I'm not gonna pretend that I've eaten more than I've eaten or that I've eaten less than I've eaten. I'm just not gonna do that because it's stupid. And some days I eat like an absolute animal. And I then, of course, like every other woman, feel like shit and hate myself like every other woman. And then the next day I don't. The next day I'm back eating like a person to the best of my ability. And I have found that everything is much harder at this age. Everything. Yeah. I mean, the bloating and the weight fluctuations are so obscene, but I've learned to laugh at it. I think the biggest shift for me over the past 15 years since I lost weight is that now I can laugh at it. And I couldn't back then. I couldn't when I was heavy, and I couldn't in the first 5 or 10 years of maintenance. But now at this point, like, I just know the absurdity. Like, I know that it's not as in control as I want it to be. Like, I'm not as in control as I want it to be, because my body is going to do what it's going to do. And even as, like, if you get really granular about it, even if I want to like not have candy corn, my brain is going to send me over to the fucking candy corn sometimes. And I'm aware of that. So I have to just like say, like, I may not weigh the least I've weighed in my adult life forever. Okay. Like, I have to just get over it. And so there's that, comes only with time and with age. And I think just being really open about that it is hard, and that it also, as hard as it is, doesn't have to make or break your mood. Like, you could choose how you deal with it. And so I work on that too, like
Yeah.
everybody else.
Yeah.
But I think also the fact that, well, first of all, I just want to say you lost all this weight before the age of Ozempic.
Yeah. Which is so funny because I'm like, I wish I had Ozempic, but yeah, but I would take Ozempic now. I mean, I have no reservation.
Oh, yeah.
If
No,
things
they're
go belly up, I believe in all of it. Like, I am so
100%.
happy that these medications are available. I don't care that they're forever. Like, I don't know, you have to take cholesterol
oh
medicine
my God.
forever.
Well, I'm on
There's-
one of them now.
Right. There's no
I'm on one
shame
of them
in it.
now. And I literally said to a friend of mine at work today, I was like, yeah, if I have to be on this forever, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, this has completely changed my life
I'm
and
so
changed my
happy for you.
relationship
Oh, I'm
with
thrilled
food.
for you.
It's I keep saying, like, the weight loss is great and I am a little obsessed with it. Because that's just normal.
Good.
But the thing that is the most encouraging is it literally has changed my whole relationship with food, meals, eating, when to eat, what I eat. It's okay when I eat. It's okay what I eat. And you don't have that. I never had that before. I've never had that my whole life.
I interviewed yesterday, and you should have her on. Summer Kessel, Summer the dietitian. She works for Weight Watchers Clinic, but she herself is on, I think, tirzepatide. And she talks about her experience being on it the past 2 years and how she lost like 100 pounds years ago. And then recently on the meds lost 40 pounds. And she talks about how it's important, even though it's much easier, she still has to watch what she eats. She still has to watch portions. Weight started coming back on. She has to be intentional, even on the medication. She has to exercise. And it's really a great sort of conversation that anyone who's a naysayer thinks somehow, and by the way, I don't care if it makes life easy and it's quote unquote cheating, great, go for it. Who gets, like, let it be easy for you. Why should anybody have to, as we said before, like, why suffer? Because what I know, and you know, Lori, if you've had a weight problem, none of us are just sitting home on our asses eating bonbons, ho-hos, and 7 slices of pizza. It's a real, obesity sucks. It's not, we don't eat nearly what people think we eat. Those are the outliers. It's like the smallest difference in the amount of food. We have different hunger cues. It's a whole thing. But these are not a quick fix. And most people don't lose 100 pounds on them. Most people lose 30, 40 pounds. And most people, everybody has to exercise to keep weight off. That's science. Like, you have to exercise to maintain weight loss. We still all have to do the work. Doesn't matter what you're taking.
Yeah, it's not, I can't describe it. It's like not easy, but it's easier. If that makes sense,
So,
like.
Yeah, someone very close to me changed their life on one of the meds, and they've dieted forever. Have tried everything, would go up, would go down, did everything. And Manjaro changed their life. Like, they exercise, they eat well, they still like food. It changed their life. I think what it does is it makes all the things that you've been trying to do that your brain wasn't letting you do, it's now letting you do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely, it's funny because I've said this before. I mean, I think Jenna's heard, I talk about this constantly with her, by the way.
You do?
But you know what? It's a trade-off. It sounds weird, but I feel like I have all this time now, which makes no sense.
Oh, it does make sense.
But I'm not coming home from work and thinking like, oh my God, what am I going to have for dinner? I just kind of eat whatever I have in the house for dinner.
That's great.
Or I cook something for dinner, or I don't have any dinner. Like, that is not a consideration anymore.
I think that's great.
And it just feels like all of a sudden my time, it's weird, but I feel like my time is freed up because my brain is not
Focused on
thinking
that.
about this, which it does all the time. And you don't even realize that it's doing it all the time. It's just a funny
I
thing.
really understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing about losing weight. When you get to a place where you're comfortable enough with your body, and it's a shame that we age, because and my naked body is not for anybody to have to manage but me. But the fact that, like, I know my clothing is going to fit me is life changing.
Life changing.
Those, like, convenience things that are life changing. Like, I said I need a facelift, yes, but I know that I can dress to not look fat on TV. I know that like a deeper person might not care. I'm not deep. Like I care.
I mean,
I think everyone
no,
cares.
I'm with
even
you. Like getting
yeah.
dressed. Look, I don't get dressed up for work. It's very casual in TV, but not having to worry. Know that I have a
Now your
lot of
jeans look fit.
choices.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
I
Right.
have a lot of choices now, which I wasn't
Right.
having,
I'm so
and that
happy for
has
you.
taken a load off. You know, it's
Yeah.
just crazy.
I just think it's important too. Well, it's definitely a mindset shift, but I think it's important what you're saying, Jenny, is like that people are still exercising. They're still like making smart choices food wise. You're not just like not eating. It's like if you're losing weight, you don't want to lose muscle mass. So you want to
Right.
make sure you're strength
Right. I
training.
mean, you're constantly like, did you work out today? Did you do
Yeah.
this today? Did you do that today?
Yeah, I'm
Like, what'd you
annoying.
eat
I'm
But
today?
you
annoying on
guys
all
know
fronts.
that a lot of the talk when they talk about Ozempic face or about losing muscle, it's no different from any other fast weight loss. It's just weight loss.
Yeah, it's
Absolutely.
just that's what
Yep.
it is losing. Yeah.
Yeah, as
Yeah.
you lose, anybody
Yeah.
loses weight, you're going to lose both fat and muscle. So yeah, I mean, it's important for
But
everybody
yes,
to.
I agree. Well, you know that's why I work out twice a week. with you,
I
because
know,
of,
I know.
Yes.
the stupid fucking muscle situation.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, so you kind of mentioned this before, but like you said, like it's when you were heavier and you've lost the weight, and then you were in that maintenance phase versus now, like you sort of have a different approach or different mindset to it. Just talk to us a little bit more about that. Like, how were you then and versus now?
I was much more nervous then. I mean, I still always feel like I'm a slice of pizza away from being like having an active case of obesity for sure. But it doesn't keep me up at night anymore. And I know what I have to do when I have to rein it in. Like, how many hours have I spent on this at this point? And also, I think I've gotten to a point where this is just my life. Like, it's no harder for me than it is for anybody else. Most people who maintain a whatever body weight do some sort of work toward that end and varying degrees, but like all the actors and actresses you see, and you're like, oh my God, they're in such great shape. Like you see Jennifer Garner baking in her pretend cooking show that she puts on Instagram or whatever and making cake. But then like you also see her jumping on big boxes with Beth Nicely from The Limit Fit, who I love Beth so much. And like she works out like a fiend. Like the actors and the actors and the people that their bodies are part of their work life, they work really hard. Going back to Kelly, Kelly works out like a maniac,
She
always
does
has.
indeed.
We all know it. She knows it.
Yeah.
She runs. She's Soul Cycle. Like she's
Yeah.
whatever. That's part of her job. Like that's
100%.
part of who she is and part of her job. Like we all have to do the things we have to do. And so I think for me, I've gotten to the point where this is just my reality. And also knowing that I live the way I live on days where my weight's going to do funky things because I'm perimenopausal, my weight's going to do funky things. It doesn't even matter what I do at that point. So like there's a part of me that just shrugs it off like, all right, oh, this is where we are.
And you're also just,
I'm
I
54
think,
years old.
yeah,
Like
as
Yeah.
we get older, it's like we care
I'm
less.
never wearing the bikini and I don't care.
Yeah.
Right.
I
And you don't care.
Like I don't miss a bikini body that I never had. I'm good.
Yeah, because I feel like it could go either way. You can become obsessed with it and you can be like
Right.
so self-critical. And, I have a lot of
You
clients
have to have some level of obsession to maintain weight loss. I mean, you can't,
I think that's
I mean,
true.
that's reality of it too. But like, I'd rather be obsessed with staying healthy in my body than be obsessed with the fact that I'm not. So like on both sides, I'm wired to care. So I'd rather care and be healthier. And you're going to see, Lori, people are going to tell you to stop losing weight. You're taking it too far. Calm down. You don't eat enough. You're losing muscle. You're going to have Ozempic face. You're going to have this. You're going to just don't listen to anybody because your weight loss and you changing your body is going to trigger everyone. There's like a weird freaking projection that happens when people see you make a change for yourself, and it has nothing to do with you.
I think that
So just ignore
I
it.
agree with you 100% because
That's
in the
interesting.
past, I've definitely experienced that for sure.
Yeah, you'll continue to.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, when I first lost weight, I would be at an exercise class with a girl who was half my size. And I was no longer, fat or whatever. And she looked me in the eye and she was like, you need to stop. You need to stop losing weight and you shouldn't exercise as much. And I'm looking at her and I'm like, Like, you're diagnosably anorexic and you're telling me to stop. Like,
That's
I'm
crazy.
saving my life.
No.
That's crazy to
Yes.
me.
But that's what happens. People get very threatened by other people improving their lives. And it has nothing to do. It had nothing to do with me. It never has anything to do with you. It has everything to do with that other person feeling some sort of something.
I mean, I can kind of almost see that from someone who is also overweight and is like envious that you're losing weight.
Oh,
But
no,
from
the skinny
someone,
people are
No,
threatened.
the skinny people are the
Really?
worst.
Oh yeah, they have skinny
You're the
privilege.
worst.
That's why right now there's so much
Yes.
anger and fear around the
Yes.
meds because
Yes.
oh God, if everybody's
Leveling the
thin,
playing field.
right? If
No
everybody's skinny,
way.
then where's the leg up that the skinny people have had?
oh my God,
God.
I
The pretty
never-
people. The
I
pretty people.
never
If
would have.
everybody's
Yes.
pretty, then it's not so special anymore
Yes.
That never would have occurred to me in a million years.
because you've never been fat.
Right.
But I also would never judge somebody for losing weight.
Well,
and
'cause
like,
you're not a psychopath.
no,
It's
I
fa-
know. And I guess maybe it's the work I do. It's like,
Right.
that's what I do. I help people to
correct.
get
Yes.
healthy and feel better. I
Yes.
can't believe that there would be people who would.
Oh yeah, all
Yes.
the time. People are gonna tell you to eat cake or tell you to eat whatever, and then in the next breath they're gonna be like, "Don't eat cake." It's everybody feels like they have a right to be involved in your body. but
Wow,
they
that's
don't.
an
Yeah.
eye opener to me. Like I would never.
Well, because you're you. Look at you.
right,
By the way, look in the mirror.
right. You've not experienced it. Then
Yeah,
you don't-
no,
you
but
don't know
I
it. It's a
can't
different
imagine
world.
ever treating someone that way either. Like it's just
No,
that is.
I know.
Wow.
Not who you are.
All right, I learned something today. I mean, I learned a lot, but
Yeah.
wow. Thank you so much.
Thanks for being here.
This
Thank
was
you for
great.
having
Appreciate
me.
your time. Is there anything you want to plug? You're Just Jenny, the
mean,
podcast,
Bunny
the
eyes.
People can go to Bunny Eyes. That's bunnyeyes.com. My Just Jenny is my Just Jenny with Jenny Hutt podcast. I drop episodes Wednesdays and Saturdays. And then my Instagram's Just Jenny Hutt. My TikTok's Jenny Hutt. That's about it.
Yeah, follow her, you
on-
guys.
I love following you on Instagram. I
Yeah.
can tell you that.
Thank you so
you.
much.
Well, thank you for having me on. You guys are great.
I like episodes like this because they're just conversations.
Just a conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah. She loves working out with me. I just want to reiterate that.
Reiterate that Jen is available for anyone who wants to work out.
Anyone who wants to work out, because I
You can
train
hire her.
virtually.
You can actually hire her.
You could hire me.
And
We've never
Jenny
actually
has-
plugged me on this podcast, have
Oh,
we?
here you go. This is your big shot with one of your clients.
One of my
I
clients.
know.
But yeah, no, she's doing great. She works out twice a week. She hates
Yeah.
every minute of it, but she does it.
Yeah, she's just fun to talk to.
And definitely for anyone listening, if you don't follow her on
Oh my
Instagram
God.
or TikTok, you really
her
have
Instagram
to.
is fantastic. It's just
She-
fun to watch her
Fun
adventures.
to watch, yeah. And
Yeah.
some of the food and things that she
Oh my
makes.
God,
these
we did that
combinations
peanut
of
butter
things.
thing. Remember the peanut butter coffee?
Oh yeah, that was delicious.
That was delicious. We haven't done that
I know,
since.
we should really do that again.
Yeah.
All right, well,
All right. Anyway, we hope you had as much fun as we did. I'm Lori Schulweis.
and I'm Jen Giammo.
This was Everybody Talks.
Talk to you next time. For more information about our podcast, to learn more about us, and to catch up on all of our episodes, go to our website at everybodytalkspodcast.com.
Follow us on Instagram at Shuli, at Jen Giammo, and at Everybody Talks. And if you want to watch today's episode, go to our YouTube channel at Everybody Talks Podcast.
Join the Everybody Talks community by checking out our Patreon page, where you can become an exclusive member of our wellness group and be a part of the conversation.
And don't forget, if you like what you've heard, give us a 5-star rating, write a review, and tell a friend. We're for everybody and everybody. The Everybody Talks podcast is co-created, executive produced, and hosted by us, Lori Schulweis and Jen Giammo. Produced and edited by Station 16.
Our theme song music is written and performed by Jackie Ryle and Aaron Navisi, with additional support from our pups, Oliver, Milo, and Murray.
Talk to you next time.